This is Paul McGann, and you're listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast.
The tangents this week continue all the way to episode 70 of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. You don't forget the face of the person who would welcome everyone to this week's episode of the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. So glad you could join us. Let's start off this week like we do every week. We're going around the virtual table and see who's here.
This is Brittany in Belleville.
This is Holly from Wisconsin.
This is Mitch in Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. Hello, everyone.
Hello.
So, we are back to our regular format. No special guests this week, but that's okay. So, we'll once again do news, and then probably tangent a couple of times. We'll see.
Well, on our first bit of news as we move right along, Star Trek is returning to TV. CBS Television Studios announced that it will launch a totally new Star Trek television series in January 2017. The new series will blast off with a special preview broadcast on the CBS television network. The premiere episode and all following first-run episodes will be available exclusively in the U.S. on CBS's All Access, the network's digital subscription video on demand and live streaming service. The next chapter of Star Trek franchise will also be distributed concurrently for television and multiple platforms around the world by CBS Studio International. The new television series is not related to the upcoming feature film Star Trek Beyond, which is scheduled to be distributed by Paramount Pictures in the summer of 2016.
Which that last bit doesn't surprise me, because
No.
it'll more than likely fit into the same universe as the previous TV shows, because as they've established in the J.J. Abrams films, Star Trek series, that what we're seeing is essentially an alternate timeline where it's the split based on the events in the first Star Trek film, that if things had gone differently, we would be seeing what we'd seen on TV, essentially. Timey-wimey.
Yep.
Even in Star Trek. Still get timey-wimey, and whales are not involved whatsoever. That is a movie reference. If you don't get that, go see
Star Trek 4.
Star Trek 4.
And hello, computer.
Yes.
Keyboard, help me.
Yeah.
One of my favorite scenes, I'm sorry.
Yeah.
Scotty. Gotta love him.
Yeah.
Indeed.
Oh. Moving on.
Moving on to possibly new reboot. Give me a second. Joe Hodgson wants Mystery Science Theater 3000 tweet on. Sorry, I can't talk. His hopes will translate into donations to a new Kickstarter to hopefully make at least 3 brand new feature-length episodes of the show. At least $2 million is needed for 3 new episodes, and $5.5 million would be needed for a full season. Hodgins, who played Castaway Joe Robinson on the show's first 5-ish years, will not be reprising his role or his successor, Michael J. Nelson. They're talking about new hosts, new mads, and new episodes. There's a link for the... Oh, sorry.
It's like a Kickstarter. I don't know if it's actually through Kickstarter, but it's like a Kickstarter, so. Which I haven't actually checked it to see where they're at as far as.
Have I? Which is bad. The campaign began Tuesday and it's going to go for a full month. So, if you want this back, please donate if you can.
Mm-hmm. Because Mystery Science Theater, I mean, there's like YouTube channels that essentially do what they did without the robot puppets.
Yeah.
but those YouTube channels probably wouldn't be around if it wasn't for Mystery Science Theater. So,
wow, I just checked it.
1.7 million they're at already.
Wow.
Almost, and they have 27 days to go. I think it's gonna happen.
I think so. It is on Kickstarter.
Yeah, it is on Kickstarter.
Yeah. Cool.
Nice.
Yeah. Someone want to give me $2 million for something? I don't know what I could do with it, but I'll figure out something. Just saying. No. Anyway. Kidding. Mostly. Alrighty then. Moving on.
Yeah, just... I'm trying to...
Come on, Google. Work. Come on, Google Docs. Work for Mitch. Throw her a bone here. Well, at this point, we're so close.
Well, I was trying to see, like, if it was Netflix that released this information, but it's isn't Netflix that released this information?
Not from what I read. I think it appeared on Reddit actually, but I haven't seen anything like denying that it's correct. So we're gonna go with it.
Oh.
But we'll find out on Friday, I guess.
What?
I said we'll find out on Friday, I guess.
I guess we will. Because the full list of episode titles and synopsis for Marvel's Jessica Jones have appeared online.
Mm-hmm.
So,
if you hadn't figured out what we're talking about.
yeah. I was trying to go to the link to see if it says whether or not Netflix released the information in it.
No. Not officially, I don't believe so, but like I said, I hadn't seen anything that follow-up wise that said that it wasn't correct, although at this point Netflix may not care because Jessica Jones comes out on Friday as of we're recording this, so. And hopefully, unlike Daredevil, I will not have as hard time having it appear on my Netflix account. Because the day Daredevil was released, it didn't show up on my Netflix for like 12 hours.
Oh, wow.
No matter any amount of refreshing and logging out and logging in. I just kind of had to wait until it finally appeared.
Need for one closet angry fangirl.
Before Jessica Jones comes out, shouldn't I? Because I'm still like only 5 episodes in.
Yeah, you probably I
probably should get on that. Like,
yeah, because if
not now, but once we finish recording.
Yeah, well, yeah, obviously, but if the synopses for the episodes of Jessica Jones are accurate, and at this point I have no reason to believe that they aren't, then there is a possible crossover happening within the season, which actually shouldn't be surprising, really, because they're both in the same universe and take place in Hell's Kitchen, so they take place in the same part of New York. So the fact that Daredevil and Jessica's, or someone from Daredevil, may not necessarily be Daredevil himself. It may be someone else from Daredevil. But
it's just if there wasn't some sort of crossover, given that they both take place in the same part of the same universe.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I'm fully prepared to binge watch Jessica Jones on Friday. I'm gonna have myself some snacks and some drinks and I'm ready to go.
And hello, David Tennant.
Yeah, buddy. Yeah, buddy. And it is somewhat related now to throw a little extra in there. I don't know if you guys saw, but supposedly David Tennant and Georgia Moffat had another kid.
Yes, another little baby girl.
Another
from the
girl.
sounds of things.
It's like they've had 3 kids together.
Mm-hmm.
All girls? Are they all girls?
No, I think they have a boy.
Okay, so they do have a boy.
And then a boy, and now apparently another girl.
Yeah, but Georgia had a boy before.
Georgia had a boy before.
Before,
and
so.
was, like,
Yeah. But now they have 2 of each, so they're good.
yeah.
Unless they're gonna go for one more and that way they'll have their own basketball team. I don't know.
I like how there's the story going on. I haven't read it yet. I haven't had a chance, but they're saying how the kids saw Dr. Who. Like, well,
But
obviously,
yeah, but Matt Smith is their favorite doctor.
Really, Olive cried when she saw her dad regenerate, but now she's a big Matt Smith fan. So, because he started them on the episode where he met their mom.
Oh, cool.
Aww.
And they, I guess, continued forward from that point, and then she was crying for 4 hours after she watched The End of Time.
Hmm.
Yeah.
I kind of did too, but I'm also not David Tennant's kid.
And if I remember correctly, he's now her favorite. So.
Oh my! Fun in the Tennant and Moffat household.
So, yeah.
Anyway, so yay! Just
And-
good job, Doctor Who. You can all hold your horses now and calm down. Take a chill pill. Next season of Doctor Who is not going to be shortened. There's a rumor that's been going around saying that next season was going to be reduced number because Peter Capaldi wants to go do other stuff. I don't know why he would, but make a paycheck in between seasons. I don't know, whatever. But Stephen Moffat, according to Radio Times, has said that rumor is absolute bunk. That's the word he used. And he can confirm absolutely that the next season is going to be 12 episodes plus a Christmas special. He doesn't know when it's going to start.
A season of Doctor Who used to be 13 episodes plus a Christmas special.
Well, but now it's 12 episodes and a Christmas special, so
it's already being shortened, just not in the way we thought.
Well, but I mean, this season's 12 episodes and a Christmas special,
exactly.
so I mean, it's a format that we've gotten used to, but it's, the way people were talking is it, the rumor going around was going to be like, oh, it's going to be like the year David Tennant did the specials, and it's going to be like that short, and no, it's not. So whether it'll be split up, we don't know. We could pull a series 7 and split it in half and have the Christmas special in the middle, but it will be 12 and 1, 12 and Christmas. So, with Peter Capaldi and Stephen Moffat as a showrunner. No, other than getting a new companion, nothing is changing for next season. So, all y'all that were worried, it's fine. It's all good. It's all good. So, and put a caveat now that probably at some point next year it's going to look like Doctor Who's going to disappear from Netflix. It's not going to, more than likely. I thought I'd throw that out there now. Before people start getting worried like they were earlier this year. That being said, that's it for news. Before we move on, though, I probably should have said something before we started this, but and I don't want to speak for all of us, but I do want to, as a human being, and I'm sure the rest of you guys would like to send out our sympathies and our good vibes and prayers and whatever your belief system is to the people of Paris.
And
absolute
and Baghdad and everywhere else.
and everywhere else. I mean, it's just you turn on I don't watch the news just because it's so depressing, because there's just always something going on here in the United States, in Europe. Pick a country, and horrible things are happening to members of the human race on a daily basis. And, other things have obviously happened, as, in this country and others since we started this podcast, and we don't normally bring it up, but just, I don't know, the severity and how broad, and just the sheer number of lives that were lost. I feel like I need to say something, to extend my sympathies to those who lost loved ones, to let those out there that maybe have not yet heard from loved ones and don't know their fate yet, to hope for the best. Already I've seen that the people of Paris are trying to bounce back. There's just an outpouring of support from fellow countries, both here in the United States and other countries, lighting up monuments in the colors of the French national flag. And my Facebook feed, almost everyone's profile picture has the French flag overlay on it. And I've never been to Paris. It's at the very top of my bucket list, though, of whenever I get a chance to get to Europe, it's London and Paris. The two are almost a package deal in my mind. If you're going to go to Europe, Paris is, it's a city of lights. It's a city of romance. It's full of amazing art and culture and history and food. As a lover of cheese and wine, France in general, mother country for me. And France has, and Paris has, ties to some of our fandoms. I mean, Doctor Who, City of Death, it takes place in Paris, so it's,
Highlander, the series, half of their episodes every season was based in and around Paris.
Mm-hmm. So it's an amazing city, and I fully believe that the people of France, the French, will come out of this stronger and more resolved than they were before the events that happened on Friday the 13th. And I look forward to, hopefully sooner rather than later, visiting Paris and discovering and experiencing such a fabulous city in person, and experience it for myself. And we do this podcast because we're fans of these things, and it's something that has brought us together. And I hope that our listeners and anyone else who may hear this maybe find some comfort in it, and hopefully the things that we talk about, Doctor Who and Star Trek and all that, will continue to be something that brings us together as human beings, no matter out. And we're of different ages and walks of life, but these things have brought us together, and I hope that the rest of the world will find something to bring them together and just find some happiness. That's all. So now that I brought the mojo down a few notches, but I felt like I needed to say something, and whether you guys agree with me or don't, or silently nodding your head on the other end of Skype, then yeah. But with that, we'll move on to the topic here for this week. Had this on the schedule for a while, and unfortunately Chrissy's not here because speaking of a book series, I know this really, not that we're not all book lovers, but Chrissy is our former librarian. Books are kind of her thing, but we'll soldier on without our resident former librarian. But as of we're recording, again, Jessica Jones comes out on Friday, but also Friday we'll see the release of the finale of the movie adaptations of the Hunger Games series, which has kind of it's taken the world by storm. It's not quite as big as some others, like Harry Potter. Like Harry Potter's huge, but and I don't think it would be fair to compare the Hunger Games to Harry Potter anyway. But these books were released in, the first one was released in 2008, so it's 7 years old. I think I read, I know I'd read the series post the last book being released, because I bought them as a bundle through Amazon for my Kindle. So I don't think I read them actually until right before the first movie came out. I don't even know why I did, because I don't know if I really had any friends that were reading them, but it was just one of those things that I kept seeing, like the commercials and the trailers for the book, or the movie, the first movie, and I got a Kindle for Christmas, and I needed stuff to read, and there was this movie coming out, and I found out it was based on a book series, and I was like, oh, that may be kind of good. So I purchased the trilogy bundle and devoured it. They're easy reads, though. That's the thing too. It really, the Hunger Games, it's not overly complicated as far as the writing style. It's young. It's a young adult book, so it's geared to a certain reading level. But yeah, I think I read the entire trilogy in like a day. Which really is easy to do, like I said. But, and then I saw the first movie, and actually I didn't really care for the first movie. I mean, I liked it as far as the adaptation of the book. I didn't like the way it was filmed. That was my biggest issue. I remember sitting in the movie theater watching it, and I think it's when they're on the train, and they had filmed it using like a handheld camera. It wasn't like real steady. It was very Blair Witch to me. It was very shaky, and I didn't like it. And then when Catching Fire came out, I didn't see it in the movie theater. I waited till it came out on DVD and then watched it. But I did see Mockingjay Part 1 in the movie theater last Christmas. So, and I will see Part 2 in the movie theater. But I think they've been a pretty good adaptation of the books, personally. I know some people are concerned about making the last one 2 parts, but that's just a thing they're doing now, I think.
Right.
Yeah.
That's kind of the trend ever since the 7th Harry Potter.
Yeah.
Where they split that into 2.
Yeah. So, did you guys read the books before you saw the movies, or did you do it the other way around, or both?
I read the books first. I remember having to wait for Mockingjay, like getting to the end of Catching Fire and like the cliffhanger of her going to District 13.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm. And having to wait. I remember that. I don't remember much about my reading experience my experience actually reading, or when I read it, or not anything, but I do remember having a banger.
So you obviously started it before
and
the last one.
having to wait for Mockingjay.
Yeah.
I remember when I read the first book I was just so glad when the first movie, the scene with the jumping jacks, that it wasn't as gruesome as it was in the books.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
I was like, oh, good.
Yeah. You got to give Suzanne Collins some credit that, you know, the idea behind the Hunger Games, it's brutal. I mean, you're sending kids to fight to the death.
Yeah.
Literally fight to the death. And it's not overly grotesque in her descriptions, but she doesn't really hold back either. I mean, she makes sure you realize the brutality of the Hunger Games and what it means to be a tribute. And but I think they did a good job of showing that in the movies, but again, not without it turning into like a slasher film.
Mm-hmm.
Which is what we don't want. We want it to be gut-wrenching, but you don't want it to be grotesque. Which is why I don't watch horror films, but we discussed that when we did our Halloween episode, so we're not going to get into that again. So what did you guys, besides that, I mean, when you went to go see at least the first movie, and it gives you an idea of how they're going about the adaptation, what did you think?
I thought overall it was good considering how much material there was, and just the setting.
Control room scenes to explain like what's going on, because with the books it's all from Katniss's point of view, and getting internal thoughts of how, and she's kind of thinking about what the explanation for what's happening is. But you don't get that with the movie, so I like the fact that they added the control room scenes in lieu of Katniss's internal monologue.
Yeah. Well, and just the imagery that they were able to pull off, too. The fiery dress and all that. It was just like, when I read that, it's like, how are they going to pull this off, and is it going to live up to what I had in my mind? And I think it pretty much did.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Visually, especially once they get to the Capitol, and you have the parade of the tributes and the interviews with Caesar, and Caesar is just come to life. It's just brilliant. And Effie, Effie's outfits come to life on the screen. It's like, oh my god. So, you get the description in the books about how the Capitol is just, it's so opulent and over the top, but then to actually see it is come to life in the films as something completely different, especially compared to, the way that some of the districts are described, especially Katniss's, and how the further you get from the capital, the more desolate and deprived and just, the exact polar opposite of the capital. To see that, it's a stark contrast, to see Katniss and her sister and her mom, and everything's just so gray and almost like it's a hair's breadth away from death. Compared to the capital, it's a stark contrast, but you need that, really, just because it helps show how, how far removed the capital is, and especially President Snow. How much they obviously, and he tries to act like he cares, but he doesn't. He could care less what's happening to pretty much any of the districts if it doesn't directly affect him. He could care less, and you have characters like Effie who have to go to these districts and put on her happy face and do the tribute draw, and she's in her crazy outfits, and she's like, "Happy Hunger Games," May the odds be ever in your favor. And the nice thing about Effie is, and this, I think in the movies, a lot of that comes from Elizabeth Banks' portrayal of Effie, but also watching the movie, and this is probably because I read the books and know where Effie's story was going, is knowing that she tries to put on this brave face for the reaping, but she doesn't really agree with what's going on, and she really probably doesn't want to be there. And I think that makes her a better character. I think it'd be one thing if she truly, genuinely was all like, "Oh, happy Hunger Games," and was actually happy to be there. I would make her really no better of a person than President Snow, really. But knowing that underneath the crazy get-ups and the eyelashes made of butterflies and all the makeup and all that Effie really is a human being and actually cares. Now, a lot of that probably also comes, we don't really know a whole lot about Effie's backstory, so I would harbor to guess that really Katniss and Peeta are probably some of the first tributes that she's really gotten really close to, and that probably makes a difference as well of where her story goes. But you've got Katniss and Peeta as the tributes, and then you've got Effie who gets pulled into their group and becomes like an extended family member, I guess. But I like Effie personally, so I think she's a fun character, and I'm glad that she's not just one-sided. But I think that's the case with a lot of the characters, actually, is Suzanne. Even if we don't get a lot of backstory to them, that she's really good about making them complex and layered characters, and based on, because if she made them one-sided, then it'd be really easy to make a judgment about them, and you'd hold that judgment against them. Oops, excuse me. And It may be incorrect, but because she gives us multifacets to a lot of these characters, you're able to get to know them better before you strike an opinion about them. Because there are characters that you meet them initially and you like, oh, they're this way, but then as the story goes on, you find out more about them and your opinion of them could change.
I mean, and Cinna was that was fantastic.
Yeah. I mean, Cinna, he should have been, just the guy that did Katniss and Peeta's get-ups, but he became more than that, so.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and what about Haymitch?
Yeah.
Oh, good old Haymitch. And I have to say, perfect casting.
With Woody Harrelson?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I was thinking him, or if not, I was kind of thinking of Quaid.
Yeah.
Andy Quaid.
Yeah.
Would have fit too.
Yeah, I'm glad they went with Woody Harrelson instead, thank you.
Yeah. Harrelson was probably the better choice. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, Haymitch is a character. And he's one of those that when you're introduced to him, he's the town drunk. He's the only person from Katniss's district that's ever won the Hunger Games, and he's ever since then he's spent his life getting as drunk as possible. But eventually, through his relationship with Katniss and Peeta, that they, he still drinks a lot, but we learn that he's more than just the district drunk. So, and I guess we'd be remiss not to mention Gale, the other. I'm hesitant to say anything for fear of spoilers, just for people that haven't read the books, but I mean, at this point, I think the statute of limitations is run out, as we've established. Gale is one of those that you start out thinking he's one way and he ends up the other, but unfortunately it goes the wrong way.
Yeah.
And I'm not looking forward to seeing that play out in the movie when it's released.
That's one of the problems of having knowledge before you see it.
Yeah. It's kind of up there with with Harry Potter. If you read the books, like, you knew Dumbledore was going to die, but you didn't want to see it.
No.
You knew Dobby was going to die. You didn't want to see it, but it was necessary.
Yeah.
Oh. And I'm not going to say anymore. Not necessarily for fear of spoilers, but I don't want to get myself upset prematurely. I'm going to wait to save the upset for when I actually see it happen. Yeah. So the cat, Katniss has a cat. The cat lives happily ever after, I think. Maybe. I don't remember. Did they say anything about the cat? We're just going to assume the cat lives happily ever after.
I have your idea, Rachel.
Yeah. We're just going to go with that. The cat lives happily ever after.
If only to save our sanity.
Yeah.
We need some happiness to go into the Hunger Games.
Yeah. Well, and yeah. Well, Dry your tears.
Crying my eyes out when I read it, and I was like, I don't know if I want to watch that part.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's one of those. It's one of those things that, you know, when you initially read it, it's like, really? That, huh? You did that? You made that happen? And again, we don't want to see it happen, but at the same time, it kind of makes sense. It's kind of like the death of Dumbledore. You know, if Katniss is Harry Potter, then, you know, this is the death of Dumbledore for Katniss, and it's what she needs to happen to her, as devastating as it is, to, because as we've seen in the movies, at this point she's finally, at least at the end of you know, Mockingjay Part 1, that she's finally decided to really officially take up the mantle and be the Mockingjay and be the face of the rebellion. But there's still a part of her that's hesitant and really doesn't want to do it. And the events that are going to take place in the last film are what push her, give her that final push. It's the death of Dumbledore for Harry to be able to take on Voldemort. It's the death of Phil Coulson in the Avengers to give the Avengers that final push. You know, it's the same thing. It's the Nick Fury push that she needs. So, but yeah, I mean, it's still gonna suck. And if you don't know what we're talking about, go watch some of the last, that one trailer that came out. That'll give you a big old hint. Spoiler. So, yeah. And at this point, it's Katniss being part of the Hunger Games was what set the rebellion in motion. But by the time we were getting to this movie, really the Hunger Games themselves, the actual games, are a thing of the past. I think that's safe to say that the Hunger Games are never going to happen again. But that doesn't mean that there's not still fighting and essentially a fight to the death. But in this case, it's the not winning the Hunger Games, it's winning the freedom of Panem is what it is. It's the rebellion versus the Capitol and President Snow, and I want to punch President Snow in the face.
Yeah. You get a good actor to play characters. President Snow.
Yeah.
Get his days in the movie of MASH and up into some of his later roles and some of his other acting roles that he had where he played a pretty decent bad guy. Perfect casting.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. But he's slimy.
Yeah.
He's
the
slimy.
Guy you love to hate.
Yeah, and he's not really he's not redeemable at all.
No.
Even you know, I don't know how much they're gonna get into.
And he's comfortable with it. I mean, my skin was crawling when he went to visit Katniss and her mom and her sister, and it was just like, oh crap, Katniss, just get them out of there and take him out, please.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yep. Oh. And I'd like to say she does get that satisfaction, but she doesn't, unfortunately.
Yeah. My dreams.
I mean, President Snow's going to get what's coming to him, but it's not going to be directly at the hands of Katniss Everdeen, unfortunately.
Right.
As nice as that would be for that to happen, but. But yeah. Oh, So it it should be interesting. It should be interesting to see how they wrap everything up, as far as the movies are concerned, because there's still a lot to happen, actually, and when you see it, you'll kind of understand why they split it into two parts, unless they. I mean, the fact that it is two parts, I can't imagine they're going to trim a whole lot out of what's still to come. There's a lot of life and death situations, a lot of because at this point the Capitol knows that the rebellion is coming and they're prepared. So there's a lot of booby traps and other things that you might as well think you're in the Hunger Games, in one of the Hunger Games arenas. Based on what we've seen in the trailers, that I don't think we'll jump straight into it, though. I don't think, because we have a wedding, a wedding to happen. So happy thoughts, happy occasions, happy. So I there's still part of me that wants to rewatch, or not rewatch, but reread the books before the last one comes out. But at this point, I don't know if I'm gonna have time. So, I mean, young adult dystopian fiction is not anything new to the book world. But The Hunger Games was kind of the first one to like really take off and then get like the movies, the movies created. But since I know you guys read more than I do, for any listeners that are fans of the Hunger Games and are looking for maybe something else to read, what would you suggest?
Well, there's always the Divergent series, which is another dystopian young adult. For those who are looking for kind of a more romance, kind of almost Hunger Games-ish, not quite series, The Selection by Kira Cass is good. I've read the first 2 books. I know there's 3 more, and I got to go back and reread. But that's kind of a whole series. I'm trying to think of what else, but nothing else is coming to mind right now.
Yeah, I haven't been reading as much as I want to, so I'm trying to remember the ones off the top of my head.
Yeah, the only one that I know of is the Divergent series. That's the only one that I'm remotely familiar with.
Which, hey, that also has a movie series to it.
Yeah, exactly. That is in progress, being released. Which I haven't seen
any of those movies.
Yeah. I haven't seen them. I haven't read the books, but I've heard they're good.
Yeah, they're
I've heard they're good, and Shailene
you...
Woodley is an up and coming star. She could easily become the next Jennifer Lawrence.
I mean, if you enjoyed reading The Hunger Games, you are going to enjoy Divergent.
And the movies were, at least part of them were filmed in Chicago. Yeah, the whole dystopian thing, not even just young adult, but the dystopian fiction goes back quite a bit of ways. I mean, with like 1984 and
Fahrenheit 451.
Fahrenheit 451, even something like the Giver, is still kind of follows into that category. So, and I don't think that it's that particular chunk of fiction is probably not going to go anywhere anytime soon. So, I know I've seen some people think that maybe the young adult, specifically the young adult with like a young hero or heroine, maybe is a bit oversaturated. But hey, if people are going to read it, so is the Maze Runner, that kind of fits in there too, doesn't it?
Yeah.
I think so. I haven't, but it's on my list. I have the book, but
yeah. Which again, set of movies. If you don't have the patience to read the book, the movies are being made as we speak, so you can start watching the movies.
Rule that I have for myself.
Only so many books at once.
And if you go to the Weed Need Blur, if you can find like that sort of thing with leads that are more like people of color, LGBTQ, young adult, that sort of thing.
Oh yeah.
That if you're looking for a little more diversity in your young adult dystopian fiction.
Cool.
Or just young adult fiction in general.
Mm-hmm.
The only thing like I complain about with like young adult dystopian is I'm not a big fan of the like triangle, like the
Love triangles.
love triangle. Yeah, I've never been that big of a fan, so
that needs to stop.
Yeah, they're catering to a specific audience, and there's just this particular demographic that on top of the.
Yeah, well, that demographic is starting to say no. We don't.
Well, yeah, it's probably because that demographic is growing. Yeah, it's probably because that demographic, like we were of a certain age group when the Hunger Games were first published, but now that we're older and a little wiser and realize that the whole love triangle thing is really cliche.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in young adult, but a lot of things actually. Pick a genre, and you can probably find the love triangle.
Yep.
It's a trope, is what it is. Thankfully, with the Hunger Games, there's more than that. I mean, there's the love triangle, but it's not like the Twilight love triangle, which I don't know a whole lot about because I've never read them and have not seen the movies, and I refuse to. But from what I understand, it's more soap opera-ish, and really because of the events that occur within the Hunger Games books, the triangle is there, but it's not necessarily the sole focus, and it's not what drives, at least Katniss. It does not drive every decision she makes. She has other things influencing her decisions, which is good. It does play a major part, though, in how she ends up in the situation she's in, at least in the first book, because of the way PETA feels for her. She doesn't necessarily feel the same way for him, but it plays into their strategy in the arena. And based on that kind of that act of defiance is kind of the lighting of the rebellion flame, as it were. And it gets resolved in the end. Probably not the nicest way, but, you know, it is what it is, because things happen and people do stupid things. Cause people to get hurt, or worse. You know who you are. I'm looking at you. I'm giving you the stink eye. Anyway. But yeah, I agree, though. The love triangle is a trope that really, like, can't, you know, romance in itself is nice, especially against the backdrop of something that is, you know, dystopian. You know, love is supposed to be a happy thing and a bright spot in a world of doom and gloom, if you're in a dystopian world, I guess. But there's other things that can be the focus of a plot besides romance. That's just me. That's my opinion. Not that I have anything against romance, but it's part of my ongoing argument that we need more original stuff out there. More original stories.
Yeah.
Alrighty. But it is what it is, and I look forward to seeing the resolution. As much as I don't, parts of the resolution I don't want to see, but overall resolution and completion of the series, I'm looking forward to seeing. So let's see how everything plays out, and I'm hoping that maybe the ending, they'll flesh it out a little more. That's the biggest thing is, it's like you get 2 and like 90% of the third book that are really great, and then you get to the end and it's like it just kind of drops off. Mm-hmm. Like we get like this epilogue, and it's like, yep, this is what happened after everything, after the revolution.
And then you try to be like, that's it?
Yeah.
What about this? What about that?
Yeah. Pretty much. Like, you don't even get, like, throughout the books we've got, like Mitch said, we've got, you know, all this,
what was that?
In her monologue from Katniss, that they needed to figure out how to adapt that on screen, because inner monologue doesn't really work that well with movies up to a certain point. You can only take so much. But you don't really get that at the end of the last book. It's just kind of the end. Mm-hmm. This is where our characters are at. The end. Yeah. Like, really? So I'm really hoping that they are able to flesh that out and give it some more meat to it. That would make me happy. That would make me very happy. So. And I don't think the first part of Mockingjay so much, but I know at the second part, if you're really familiar with like the dialogue and stuff in the books, that they had to change a lot of, I don't know how much, but I'm going to say a lot of the dialogue because of the passing of Philip Seymour Hoffman.
Mm-hmm.
Since his character was supposed to have
a big part.
And then unfortunately he died. So they had to change things around. So it'd be interesting to see how they made that work as well. So, which in this case, I don't fault them for diverting from the book, because you lost one of your
Right.
major actors for a major character. So, but other than that, I think they've been pretty good about being pretty faithful to the books. So, but again, they're not big honkin' movie or books compared to like when you get to like the later books in Harry Potter.
Yeah, doorstops.
Yeah, when they're doorstops and, entire subplots get removed completely. There's not really a whole lot of like multiple subplots with the Hunger Games. Like there's the plot and a few side stories, but that's it. There's not like major subplots. There's no spew subplot in Hunger Games.
Hunger Games is all about the revolution.
Yeah. So. All right.
Which makes sense considering the different worlds, right?
Yes, absolutely. Like I said, it's not really fair to compare them, but it's the only thing I'm familiar enough with to be able to make that comparison.
Yeah.
Just because I haven't really read much of anything else. It's more like I haven't read the Divergent series, so I can't, which those would be more comparable, but I can't because I haven't read it. So that's where I'm coming from. But I have the Divergent series. It's on my list behind the 5 million other things to watch and read and try and eat and visit and whatever and wear.
Fangirl problems.
Yeah, exactly. First world fangirl problems. No, anyone have anything else you would like to add? Take tissues with you when you go see it?
Probably, yeah.
Be prepared to laugh and cry and curse.
I'm gonna try to see it in theaters. I only saw the first one in theaters. Haven't had a chance to see the other ones in the theaters. But I'm kind of blaming. When I went the night it came out, and my theater, which it normally isn't, it was fully packed. And I had been like one of the oldest people there who willingly went, and I was like 21. I was like, oh my.
Well, hopefully you'll get to see it. I don't know when I'm going to get to see it. I don't know if it's actually going to get to be this weekend, but this coming weekend when it release, I may try to catch a early morning matinee because it's cheaper.
Yeah.
We'll see. Oh, pardon me.
I probably won't see it this weekend, but I have a reason why.
Yeah. Busy. Excuse me. Get the hiccups. Oh. Well, anything else? No? Y'all are sad now because you know it's coming. That's what it is. We can't talk about it. We'll all cry. But the cat lives happily ever after.
True, but the stuff in between.
Yeah. Cat should live happily ever after what Katniss did to rescue it
Yeah.
twice.
Mhm.
Anyway. All right, so with that, vague, hashtag vague book. If you would like to join in our conversation about the Hunger Games or anything else we've talked about, you can get a hold of us on our website, which is the fiveishfangirlspodcast.blogspot.com. There you can find links to Tumblr, Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest, book club, also iTunes. So please rate and leave us a review on iTunes as soon as I know I mentioned just a couple weeks ago, as soon as the podcast is available through Google's new podcast thing, I will put the link to that, but it is not live yet as far as I know. I haven't gotten anything from Google saying it is, so...
I've heard some other podcasts that I listen to talk about that. They'll be on Google, just Google whatever, as soon as it's live.
Yep. Until then, you keep doing what you're doing. Although Chauncey has an Android phone, so he doesn't have iTunes. He's got another app that does the podcast feed, and he seems to like it well enough. So, however you get the podcast.
Hey, some people might. We'll see.
Yep, we'll see. But once that's live, and I put it up, so you can do that. And of course, our Patreon is the year comes to an end. We again cannot thank our supporters enough for what they've been able to give us throughout this year, and going into 2016. Hopefully we can put your generous donations to work, more work than it's already being used. We shall see. But we can't say thank you enough to everyone's support, whether it's monetary or just a tweet, or a like on something we posted on Facebook. It's all warm fuzzies, as Chrissy likes to put it, and we like the warm fuzzies. So
yeah.
Yep.
Yes, we do.
Yep. Warm fuzzies.
Seeing how most of our fandoms don't give us warm fuzzies.
Haven't been giving us the warm fuzzies lately.
No. But we'll be getting into that.
Fuzzies from the other fans, since we're not getting them from the media.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But we'll be getting into that in the near future, maybe. At this point, I would also say, and here's what we're talking about in the upcoming weeks, but really, at this point, our schedule is in major flux, mostly because we don't know when stuff is ending.
Yeah, especially when we get surprises.
Yes. So, like the nice surprise we had during Heroes Reborn, this last Heroes Reborn, we're going, wait, what? What do you mean it's finale? It's not done yet. So stay tuned, because we have an idea of what we'd like to talk about, but as finales pop up without us realizing it, things may change.
Yeah.
Yep.
But if you want to send us something,
there's been more mentions of Gateway, which when I saw it filming in downtown,
yeah,
it was Gateway by Renatus, so that's coming into play. Like what I saw is coming into play really soon, or ish.
Is that anywhere near the Canadian bank that apparently they have in Illinois?
I mean, I was watching that scene. Luke was outside the ice cream shop, and across the street there was a sign for TD Canada Trust. I'm like,
I didn't know they had those outside Chicago.
Part of the world.
Yeah. It's like, you're supposed to be right outside of Chicago. What are you doing at a Canadian bank?
Which is funny because they could have just taken out the Canada because we do have there's a TD.
Well, I mean,
That's funny.
it's Illinois and there's a TD Canada Trust. I'm like, So obviously that was shot in Canada.
Yeah. Even if you hadn't been there to see it, you would have known. Continuity fail.
Big continuity fail.
Or at least a set dressing fail. One of the two.
To be fair, I don't think they considered that people would notice that, but because I bank at TD, I think it's something that I'm wired to notice or something.
Well, yeah.
Like, I bank at TD, so I know what the TD Canada Trust sign looks like, and I saw it, and it shouldn't have been there.
Nope.
Oops.
Oopsies.
So, a little bit of an oops, but doesn't detract from how good the program is. So.
No.
Yeah.
It just makes it funny for us.
It just makes it funny that they messed that up.
Yeah.
So.
So with that,
With that,
I guess
we can at least say what we're doing next week.
What are we doing next week?
Pixar.
Oh,
20th
yeah.
Anniversary of Pixar.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. Yeah. That's what's on the schedule right now. So
That's
that's
on the schedule right
that's
now,
what that's hopefully what we're gonna go with, unless something
Unless
major
something-
happens, I guess.
Right.
So, yeah, so now, prepare to feel really old next week, because next year we're going to be celebrating 20 years worth of Pixar films.
That's just
Yeah, exactly.
my childhood.
Yeah. And with that happy note, it's been all just sunshine and rainbows here. Look, a unicorn!
And rainbow stickers.
Yeah, not. Okay, well, before we get too more depressed, let's sign off for this week.
This is Brittany and Beverly saying goodnight.
This is how I must last and say good evening.
Rich saying goodnight from Kitchener, Ontario.
And this is Rachel in Indianapolis, Indiana. And whatever you may be doing in life, may the odds be ever in your favor. You have been listening to the Five-ish Fangirls podcast. Any and all movies, books, games, and other forms of media mentioned are owned and operated by the respective copyright holders. No copyright infringement is intended or implied.